everyone, and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. It's Tuesday evening here, the first day of June 2021. And tonight we have updates from our correspondents across the country. Joining us live tonight are Eliza Gonzalez-Maglimot in Washington, D.C.
The World Health Organization gives a green light for emergency use of the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine.
Julianne Docena in Las Vegas for entertainment news.
Movies head back to in-theater only releases.
And for EBC Sports, EJ Gonzalez in Alexandria, Virginia.
For tennis, Naomi Osaka withdraws from the French Open, and in NBA playoffs, both Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid face unavailability with recent injuries.
Carla Valdez in Union Township reports about New Jersey marking the first day of a statewide body-worn camera mandate in Camden. Then, Michael Hudson in Seattle tells us about COVID cases surging in the state of Washington. Angel Membreri in Sacramento reports about California's COVID vaccination incentive program. And Susan Husk in Dallas reports about the official South Texas Hurricane Guide for 2021. Plus, for tonight's roundtable, June is African American Music Appreciation Month. Let's talk about our favorite Black artists and their music. Our coverage begins now. President Joe Biden honors the victims of a 1921 racial massacre in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
The only way to build a common ground is to truly repair and to rebuild. I come here to help fill the silence, because in silence, wounds deepen. And only, as painful as it is, only in remembrance do wounds heal.
The massacre in Tulsa was one of the worst episodes of racial violence in U.S. history, but was largely forgotten for decades. As it appeals for over $200 million to scale up its response, the United Nations says more than 90% of people in Ethiopia's war-torn Tigray region need emergency food aid. The UN World Food Program, or WFP, voices alarm that the conflict had caused an increase in hunger levels, which were already high in the region.
The World Food Program is alarmed at the impact of conflict on already high levels of hunger, and ahead of the results of a new integrated food security fares classification, IPC study of levels of hunger across Tigray, we are deeply concerned at the number of people we see in need of nutrition support and emergency food assistance. WFP is calling for $203 million to continue to scale up its response in Tigray to save lives and livelihoods through to the end of the year. Insecurity is challenging the ability of most emergency responders to reach people who are in need. A ceasefire and unimpeded access are vital, not only for WFP, but also for all its partners in Tigray to reach all areas and all people who are desperately in need of life-saving support.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, winner of the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize, sent troops into the northern region in November to detain and disarm leaders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the region's former ruling party. He said the move came in response to TPLF attacks on federal army camps. Though he vowed the conflict would be brief, more than 6 months later, fighting continues. Reports of atrocities are proliferating, and many leaders are warning of a potential humanitarian catastrophe. The WFP says it has provided emergency aid to more than 1 million people since it started distributions in northwestern and southern areas of Tigray in March. Displaced people who fled to Rwanda following the eruption of the Nyiragongo volcano in the Democratic Republic of Congo, city of Goma, receive aid and food in a camp set up by the UN's refugee agency, or UNHCR. By order of the authorities, Goma residents evacuated the city on May 27 towards surrounding regions. Almost 400,000 people have been displaced. A smashed goldfish bowl, panicked birds in a cage, scores of animals needing treatment. The loss or injury of treasured pets has added to the grief and trauma of Gaza residents after last month's deadly conflict. Authorities there say in the latest war, Israeli strikes on Gaza killed 254 Palestinians, including 66 children, as well as some fighters. Fire by Palestinian militants claimed 12 lives in Israel, including one child, a teenager, and an Israeli soldier. Pets also suffered as well as the children who owned them. Neriman, a 9-year-old Palestinian girl, clutched a glass jar holding her goldfish, Hur. Neriman is delighted that the goldfish had survived after her other goldfish, Horia, died in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City.
كان عندي حوض كبير وكان فيها سمكتين وانكسر وماتت السمكة الثانية وضلت واحدة.
Said El Ayer of the Sulala Association for the Care of Stray Animals describes the current situation of stray animals in Gaza.
موجود حاليا عندي تقريبا ست اصابات ونامل انه الكلاب اللي ضايله برا اللي بدها ترجع ان شاء الله على الملجا ما تكونش مصابه. طبعا غير هيك احنا قاعدين بنستقبل كمان حالات في مناطق ثانيه مصابه من الحرب بنروح بناخذها وببعثوا لنا اياها الناس.
Now for today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time today, Tuesday, the first day of June 2021, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now over 170,871,000. The countries with the three most number of recorded cases are the United States with more than 33.2 million, India with 2.8 million, and Brazil with more than 16.5 million. The virus has now claimed more than 3,553,000 lives worldwide. The countries with the three most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the U.S. with over 595,000, Brazil over 462,000, and India with over 331,000. Total vaccine doses administered worldwide is now at 1,928,759,914. Now for COVID-19 news. The World Health Organization voices deep concern at the COVID-19 situation in South America, warning that outbreaks in the already hard-hit region were once again worsening. The WHO's emergencies chief, Michael Ryan, says 8 of the 10 countries reporting the coronavirus highest mortality rates in the last week were in the Americas. Take a look.
That the situation in South America right now remains of very high concern for WHO and for our colleagues in the Pan American Health Organization or American Regional Office in Washington. 8 out of the top 10 countries reporting the highest mortality rates per population in the last week have been from the region of the Americas, and particularly from South America. South American countries represent 4 of the top 10 countries globally, just in case incidents over the last week. And those countries include Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, followed by Bolivia, Peru, and Chile. So there are real challenges in South America still, and mortality, has increased in some countries, particularly in Paraguay and Bolivia, by over 20% in the last week. And when you look at case fatality rates in South America in general, they are higher than in many parts of the rest of the world, ranging from 3 to 5%. And again, that may reflect severity of disease, but it also reflects access to adequate health care and the pressure that the system has been under in many South American countries for a very long time, despite the wonderful efforts of healthcare workers and healthcare systems to do that.
Ryan's comments come after Peru on Monday more than doubled its official coronavirus death toll, becoming the country with the highest COVID-19 mortality per capita anywhere in the world. Lima said it had raised the count from 69,342 to 180,764 on the advice of a panel of health experts, which found that there had been an undercount. But countries across the continent have been hard hit by the pandemic, with Brazil long one of the world's worst affected countries. In the midst of the global health crisis, the new head of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, Australian Matthias Cormann, says at his first press conference the pandemic is the worst health, economic, and social crisis the agency is facing in its 60-year history.
We are faced with a formidably tall order to rebuild from the COVID-19 crisis, the worst health, economic and social crisis in the 60-year history of the OECD. The prospects are improving, certainly across the OECD, but the recovery remains uneven. We now project global GDP growth at 5.8% this year. We need to continue to promote global leadership to tackle climate change and achieve global net zero emissions by 2050. Against COVID, of course. I mean, it's in everyone's interest to go flat out to vaccinate, to maximize vaccinations all around the world. This is not a matter of benevolence or charity from advanced economies. This is a matter of making sure that we ultimately provide the greatest possible protection to all around the world, and indeed that we ensure that we have the best prospects of a sustained recovery.
Up next, we'll have reports from Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Washington State, California, and Texas. Eagle News America continues. Stay with us.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our health outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. The World Health Organization validates the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. In Washington, D.C., EBC's Eliza Gonzalez-Magmont joins us tonight with the details. Eliza?
Thank you, Philip. A good Tuesday evening to you and an awesome Wednesday morning to our friends on the other side of the globe. Sinovac's CoronaVac becomes the latest COVID-19 vaccine to be granted emergency use listing, or EUL, by the World Health Organization. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made this announcement today.
Today, I'm happy to announce that the Sinovac CoronaVac vaccine has been given WHO emergency use listing after being found to be safe, effective, and quality assured following 2 doses of the inactivated vaccine.
The Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine is the second Chinese jab to receive a green light from the health organization. Tedros touts a benefit of Sinovac's COVID vaccine, CoronaVac.
Furthermore, the easy storage requirements of CoronaVac make it very suitable for low-resource settings. It's now the 8th vaccine to receive EUL by WHO.
By validating the Sinovac vaccine for emergency use, WHO assures funders, procuring agencies, and communities that the vaccine meets international standards for safety, efficacy, and manufacturing. WHO's EUL allows countries to expedite their own regulatory approval to import and administer COVID-19 vaccines. This is especially beneficial for governments without an international standard regulator of their own. WHO Assistant Director General for Access to Health Products, Dr. Mariangela Simao, says the world desperately needs multiple COVID-19 vaccines to address the huge access inequity across the globe. WHO recommends the vaccine for use in adults 18 years and older, and the jab is given in 2 doses with a spacing of 2 to 4 weeks. Efficacy results show that the vaccine prevented symptomatic disease in 51% of those vaccinated and prevented severe COVID-19 and hospitalization in 100% of the studied population. Now for some weather update, it is now 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital. In Washington, D.C., Eliza Gonzalez, Manglik Mott, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Eliza. Now, even before this announcement, which countries were already using the Sinovac vaccine?
Well, Philip, news reports say that the Sinovac jab is already in use in 22 territories around the world. Apart from China, the countries using Sinovac include Chile, Brazil, Indonesia, Mexico, Thailand, Turkey, and the Philippines. Philip?
Now, what vaccines have already been given emergency use listing by the World Health Organization?
Philip, aside from the Sinovac vaccine, WHO has already listed for emergency use the Pfizer-BioNTech, AstraZeneca SK, the AstraZeneca SK Bio, Serum Institute of India, AstraZeneca EU, Janssen, Moderna, and Sinopharm vaccines. Philip?
Thanks, Eliza. That's definitely a lot to choose from if you're following the WHO's guidance. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Eliza.
Thank you, Philip.
Today marks day 1 of implementing New Jersey's statewide body-worn camera mandate in Camden. To tell us more, Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez files this report.
Thanks, Philip. On Tuesday, June 1st, Governor Phil Murphy marked the first day of New Jersey's statewide body-worn camera mandate. New Jersey now joins 6 other states that require body-worn cameras. Let's take a look at what Governor Murphy had to say.
So together, we just had the opportunity to take a tour of the police training facility here and to get a firsthand look at the body camera technology, which today, June 1st, 2021, by the way, Charlie Murphy's 20th birthday, keep him in your prayers. As of today, it must be employed in every police department across our state. And Gabe, your colleagues, the captain, sergeant, and officer were outstanding. The Camden County Police, as Gabe mentioned, has been at the forefront in deploying this technology department-wide, and it's made a huge impact here. And that goes all the way back to 2016 as it relates to Camden. All of us are united in one vision, and that is in ensuring that not just the city of Camden, but this county, but our entire state continues to be a safe place for families to call home. And so much of that vision rests on ensuring strong bonds of trust between law enforcement and the people they serve. Through the tremendous efforts of Attorney General Graywall and Colonel Callahan, I'm honored to be with them today. I know Sheila Oliver joins me in that. Working alongside community leaders in our houses of worship, thank you to our faith leaders, especially across our state, including in Camden. Those connections are being made and they are being deepened. They're being made through constant dialogue, but more importantly, through the knowledge that actions do speak louder than words. But even so, we must always look for more ways to restore these critical community bonds. And this is what makes today such a good day for our state. Today, our state law requiring the deployment of body cameras across every police department takes effect. And through the grants that the Attorney General is dispersing to 487 law enforcement agencies statewide to help alleviate the costs, we are redoubling our commitment to transparency and accountability in policing.
And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 137 new positive PCR tests, pushing the total to 887,834. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 7 new confirmed deaths, pushing the total to 23,549 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Carlo. It'll definitely be interesting to see if other states begin to follow suit. An alarming increase in COVID cases is happening in Washington state, something that might push back the state's goal to fully reopen on June 30. Eagle News correspondent Mike Hudson reports.
Thank you so much. So according to the Department of Health, COVID-19 positive cases have shot up 73% since last week. The previous week had 4,829 total cases, and this week, 8,355. The state ranked first among states where the virus was spreading the quickest on a per-person basis, and Pierce County led the positive cases with 1,721. This puts the state's overall cases since the outbreak at 438,000, with 5,809 total deaths. With Governor Jay Inslee's recent announcement on a full reopening on June 30th, this may be pushed back to a later date, especially if the positive cases continue to rise. With that being said, over 7 million vaccines have been administered throughout the state, and they continue to bring in more to ensure that all of the residents are covered and we can work hard in bringing the total number of cases down. In Washington State, Michael Hudson, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Mike, and hopefully the state of Washington will be able to reverse the trend of those numbers. In California, a vaccine incentive program has been launched in an effort to encourage more residents to get the COVID-19 jab. In Sacramento, Bureau Chief Angel Membrere has the report.
Thank you. California has launched a new vaccine incentive program, which hopes to get more Californians vaccinated if they choose to receive one. This multi-million-dollar program is called Vax for the Win. There are several prizes, but the major prize is $1.5 million for 10 winners, which will be selected on June 15th. Basic requirements is that you must live in California, aged 12 years and older, and have received at least your first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Here's Governor Newsom with more details.
And so what we are announcing today, we think, is significant in advancing and achieving our goals. The state of California today is announcing the most significant incentive program in the United States of America. We're putting aside more resources than any other state in America, and we're making available the largest prizes of any state in America for those that seek to get vaccinated. Today, we're announcing that we are setting aside incentive cards, 2 million incentive cards on a first-come, first-served basis for individuals that are eligible to get a vaccine that seek to get a vaccine. That's effective today in the state of California. If you're 12 years or older, you can receive a $50 incentive card from Kroger's, Albertsons, or if you choose, just a traditional MasterCard $50 card that will allow you to utilize those dollars anywhere. If you're a family of 4, you do the math. If you're a family of 6, do the math. That opportunity avails itself to everybody until we exhaust those 2 million cards.
In California, more than 70% of adults have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine and is still on track to fully reopen by June 15th. Governor Newsom elaborates.
So that is a $100 million incentive program, and we hope to distribute all those dollars before June 15th. And indeed, we are prepared, and we believe we will be ready for that June 15th reopening fully of the economy here in the state of California, moving beyond the blueprint, moving beyond the purple, red, orange tiers, now moving back to that semblance of normalcy all of us have long looked forward to. So,
in Sacramento, California, Angel McBerry, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thanks, Angel. And that's very interesting. That's a lot of incentives out there compared to other states with lower vaccine percentages, like Georgia, as an example, nowhere near the 70% of California. Meanwhile, a downloadable hurricane guide for South Texas has been made available by the National Weather Service. Eagle News correspondent Susan Husk has the details.
Thank you and howdy from the Lone Star State. June 1st marks the start of hurricane season. To help Texas residents prepare, especially those who are living along the southern coast, the National Weather Service has prepared a 34-page ebook called The Official South Texas Hurricane Guide 2021, an introduction written by NWS Warning Coordination meteorologist Melissa Huffman. This guide contains updated information for 2021 hurricanes and the many hazards they bring to the Texas Gulf Coast. Think of it as the owner's manual for the 2021 season. The guidebook also includes interesting hurricanes facts. For example, did you know that since 1851, a total of 65 hurricanes have struck the Texas coast? Do you also wonder where hurricane names came from? According to the Hurricane Guidebook, they are established by the World Meteorological Organization and are rotated every 6 years. If a storm is too deadly or costly, the name will be retired. The book contains a list of future hurricane names per season from 2021 all the way to 2025. The guidebook also describes in detail other devastating consequences of hurricanes, which include riptides, inland flooding, and storm surges. The book also has a section on tornadoes and ways to prepare. Users can find hurricane readiness tips, survival kit supplies, and a list of emergency resources contacts. The guidebook is free and can be printed or downloaded to your computer or phone by visiting weather.gov. Meanwhile, I hope you are staying safe in your part of the country. In Dallas, Texas, I'm Susan Husk, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thanks, Susan. That is definitely a great resource to help individuals weather the storm. Still to come, entertainment news and EBC Sports. Stay with us.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
It's time to head over to Julianne in Las Vegas for a look at upcoming movies. Julianne?
Thank you, Philip. Summer is upon us and almost starting to feel like pre-COVID-19 normal as more and more production houses finalize launch dates for their blockbusters and even produce featurettes to entice you to head back to the theaters.
Fast and Furious 9 hits theaters on June 26th, but in preparation, Universal Studios is building momentum with multiple trailers and even a featurette with none other than Vin Diesel himself, inviting viewers to come back to theaters to laugh, cheer, and believe again in ways that only the best movies can inspire.
We'll see you soon.
Warner Brothers releases its musical In the Heights on June 10th. From the creators of Hamilton and Crazy Rich Asians, you'll delve into a community where the streets are made of music and little dreams become big. HBO Max subscribers can stream the movie for free, but something tells me most of us will prefer to see it on the big screen. Lionsgate releases Voyagers on June 8th. It's a futuristic tale geared around preserving the human race by breeding and raising young men and women as they travel deep into space in search of a new home.
If we are ever to send a human mission into the depths of space, this is something we're going to have to consider, raising entire generations of people on a spaceship. So I thought it's quite a cool thought experiment.
I think that's what's really interesting about this film is that what it's really exploring is, what are our true natures as human beings? Are we innately bad or good people? Especially when people have been raised exactly in the same way in exactly the same environment. Can we be inherently bad or inherently good? And I think that that's the real fight and struggle of this movie is kind of fighting against our own natures and figuring out, what those even really are.
This week, Spirit Untamed launches in theaters across the country. Produced by DreamWorks Animation, it's an epic adventure about a headstrong girl who, while trying to find herself, discovers a kindred spirit in an unexpected connection with a wild horse. Now, that might sound a little weird to many of us who have only ever owned dogs, cats, or even hamsters, but here's what the cast has to say about the love of horses.
You hungry, bud? Is that a potato? Would that be bad? Horses are finicky. They've got a real sweet tooth. Thanks. That is better than a potato. I'm a humongous equestrian and I love horses.
I've been riding a horse since I was 6 years old.
They're just so beautiful.
Horses can feel what you feel. So, shoulders back, eyes where you want him to go.
For anyone who rides horses, they know it is a connection, it is a respect.
Just trust him.
They'll easily sense when it's not an equal relationship. So it's this beautiful balance.
Horses have a personality, and whenever you establish a relationship, there is a deep form of communication without words.
Lucky had that connection with Spirit. They're able to both find their way back home because of the bond that they created.
Elaine is an authentic horsewoman. She has grown up with horses. She brought to the movie the love of horses and the knowledge of that special relationship.
The horses are majestic and they're elegant.
They're very soulful and they become very attached to the people that take care of them.
Animals have such a close place at our hearts. It's something that everyone can connect with.
We'll get your family back, Spirit.
Spirit Untamed can only be watched in theaters starting this Friday. It's filled with great music and great messages around hope, self-discovery, and being a good friend, daughter, and member of your village. My only fear is that after watching it, we will all want our very own horse. In Las Vegas, Julianne Docena, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Julianne. I'm just curious, have you yourself ever ridden a horse?
You know, I don't remember ever riding a horse. However, I've seen pictures of me as a very young girl on a white horse. So I know I have. I just don't have any recollection of that time.
Well, what do you think? Do you think after seeing this movie that you'd want to own your own horse?
I definitely would love the idea of owning my own horse, but you know, having a very big dog who is 100+ pounds, it feels like I own my own horse, and you know, having to clean up after him and all of that good stuff has made me realize that owning a horse is probably like twice or maybe even more times as difficult because they have to have their own house basically. So I already cleaned my own house. I don't know if I want to clean another animal's house. So we'll see. Who knows?
Absolutely, Julianne. I think I agree with your sentiments there. Now, before I let you go, you know, we're talking earlier about, you know, the return to normal and movies being shown only in theaters. Is there a movie that you anticipate will absolutely be a must-see only in theaters type of movie?
That's a great question. So all the movies that I've already discussed for this week and even in the past week seem to be like great movies that I would love to see in theaters. But for me personally, I would really love to see In the Heights only in the movie theater. I can be a little biased because I love musicals myself, especially Broadway musicals that turn into movies. Because for those who are not super familiar with how Broadway musicals are, there's a way that it's created so that on the stage, you see what the producers want you to see. So if they want you to see just the subject, it's going to be dark all the way around them. And if they want you to see multiple things happening on stage left and stage right and in the subjects area, you're going to see so many different things. And that's what I love about musicals that turn into movies, because when you're sitting there in front of this humongous screen, it's not always just a subject right in front of you that you're going to see. You're going to see like a lot of things happening around them. And I believe that the director who directed this movie created this movie to be exactly that, so that you have to have that ginormous screen in front of you so that you can really take in what's happening and the colors and the music and what it means to the scene itself. And so I think everyone has to see In the Heights in theaters only, at least for the first time, and then you can watch it again at home.
Absolutely. I think the hardest thing for me is just not being able to rewind, and we started watching with subtitles at the bottom of everything we have online streaming too. So definitely different, but you're right. There is nothing like watching a movie like that in the theaters. So thank you so much, Julianne, for joining us this evening. Naomi Osaka has made headlines in the past for her impressive wins on the tennis court. Recently, though, her decision to stay off the court shook the sports world. And in basketball, some NBA big men may also be out due to injuries. EJ Gonzalez joins us live tonight from Alexandria with the details. EJ?
Thanks, Philip. Yeah, let's start in the world of tennis. Much news is surrounding the 23-year-old Japanese phenom Naomi Osaka, as she announced that she would be withdrawing from the French Open tournament. A week prior to her round one matchup, Osaka made the decision to skip speaking with the press during the tournament. She cited that this decision was related to her own mental health. Now, after her round one win, Osaka did end up skipping that time with the media, and then was fined $15,000 by the French Open. Now, shortly after this, Osaka went to Twitter to announce that she would be withdrawing from the tournament so that, quote, everyone can get back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris, end quote. Now, Osaka further explained the struggles she has been dealing with regarding depression and dealing with her anxiety. For now, Naomi says that she will be taking some time away from tennis and hopes to work with the tour to find ways to make things better for the press, for the fans, and for the players alike. Now, big-name athletes such as Serena Williams, Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, and Russell Wilson also poured in their support for Osaka's decisions and gave their kudos to her for speaking up on her battles with mental health. Now for your updates in the NBA. Two big men, Joel Embiid of the 76ers and the Lakers' Anthony Davis, are dealing with new injuries that may cause them to miss some time with their respective teams in their own playoff series. Now, Anthony Davis went down in Game 4 during the series matchup between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. MRIs were taken on Monday and confirmed a groin strain. Now, Anthony Davis was already experiencing discomfort on his left knee before entering Game 4. Now, Davis's availability going into Game 5 was originally listed as questionable, but moments ago, it was just confirmed that he will in fact be out of the lineup. Now, with this news, momentum seems to be shifting to Phoenix as Chris Paul looks to be healthy from his shoulder injury that he faced in Game 1. And with the Suns winning Game 4 to tie up the series 2-2, they played this pivotal Game 5 in Phoenix on their home floor. Now, Joel Embiid also suffered an injury in Game 4 of the playoff matchup between the Sixers and the Wizards. The Sixers looked to close out the series in Washington, but Embiid had a big fall in the first quarter of the game, which ended his night early. It was reported that the big man suffered a right knee injury and will be receiving an MRI on Tuesday. Embiid's availability is still up in the air, but the Philadelphia 76ers have another chance to clinch the series on their home court on Wednesday night. Right now, these are the current records for the NBA playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, the Sixers lead the Wizards 3-1. The Hawks lead the Knicks 3-1 as well. And you'll see on the screen that the Nets are leading 3-1 over the Celtics, but they officially closed out the game moments ago and are set to play the Bucks in round 2. In the Western Conference, the Jazz lead the Grizzlies 3-1, while all the other matchups between Suns and Lakers, Nuggets and Blazers, and Clippers and Mavericks are all tied at 2-2. In Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, EJ. What are your thoughts on Naomi Osaka's decision?
Yeah, no, what she's going through is definitely has to be tough. You know, it's amazing how Naomi has been a strong voice on issues that not many are brave enough to speak on. You know, last year with a lot of the riots that were going on with social injustice, she was one of the vocal pieces there. And now she's using her platform to speak on mental health. Again, she's only 23 years old, right? And even describes herself as an introvert, but somehow she's courageous enough to get her message out there. You know, I've seen many times where an athlete simply skips out to talking with the media. You know, they pay their fine and go on with their day. But, you know, Naomi, she took the time to write down and explain where she's coming from, post it on Twitter, directly coming from her for all the fans and co-athletes to see. And in turn, they commend her on her decision. I'm definitely wishing her the best in her battles that she's facing. You know, I hope that she can work with the tour to find a solution where everyone feels comfortable. And, you know, I hope that soon we'll be able to see her on the court again.
Absolutely, EJ. Well, thank you for that. Now, just to shift to basketball before we go, no one has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in NBA playoff history. Will your Wizards be the first?
Well, what kind of fan would I be if I don't have any hopes that the Wizards can come out from a 3-0 hole? But, you know, again, like you said, it's never been done in NBA history. Out of the 181 times where a team goes up 3-0, I think it's 0% that the team comes back from that. Well, they got Game 4, so now technically the series is 3-1, and there have been teams that have come back from 3-1, so they just got to take it one game at a time. Embiid will be missing Game 5, so they had to take that opportunity there. And then Game 6 is back on their home court. If they force a Game 7, then anything is possible.
That's right. Anything is possible. Thank you, EJ, for your report. We'll catch up with you in our roundtable in just a moment, where we talk about African American Music Appreciation Month. Eagle News America will return shortly. Stay with us.
Justine Narvios at abangan niyo po ako bilang guest performer sa Letters and Music ngayong darating na Sabado, June 5, 1 to 2 p.m. Siyempre, dito lamang sa Net25. See you po!
Mga Pinoy artists na hinahangaan natin ng tinig.
Hindi kita malimutan tuluyan. Pangako sa'yo, ipaglalaban ko. Follow your dream, the courage found within. Ang dami-daming bagay na hindi naman kailangan. Now that you're gone, kung pwede lang naman, pagkat nariyan ka. Makulit ka, makulit ka, makulit, di ako papakona.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. June is African American Music Appreciation Month. And so tonight for our virtual roundtable, we're going to talk about our favorite Black artists, why we like them, what songs we like, and maybe if we're lucky, some of us will sing. I'm not going to volunteer to be the first. But EJ, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about who your favorite Black music artist is and why?
Yeah, it was a really tough decision to think of just one artist. You know, I definitely am a fan of a lot of various artists, and especially African American artists. And I was going through my Spotify playlist when they gave us the question. I was like, okay, I got to pick one. So you know, if I had to choose just one, I went with Miguel. He's also half Latino, if I'm not mistaken. So I love his voice. The guy can sing like crazy. And I'll tell you a quick story. One time we were in Atlanta, in your hometown, Philip, and we were walking in the city. And all of a sudden I start hearing noise. I have no idea I'm even close to a concert venue. I start hearing it. I'm like, yo, this is the song I listen to like almost every day. It was Miguel at a concert, like literally like probably a block away, and I could hear it coming out from the doors. And I was like, man, how did I not know that Miguel was in Atlanta while I was here? I was really upset that I didn't know. I could have gone to that concert to actually hear him live. You know, that would have been amazing. But yeah, Miguel for me would probably be one of the top artists one of the top African American artists that I would listen to, and I love his voice. The one song in particular would be Adorn from his Kaleidoscope Dream album. That one I can listen to over and over again.
Okay, well, thank you for that, EJ. I guess we'll see how much Julie and Eliza have to say, and then maybe we'll circle back around for a line from there. So stand by. Julianne, how about you? Who's your favorite or one of your favorite African-American music artists and why?
I could definitely relate with having to search for my favorite African-American musical artist. I really did have to Google the artists that I even know because there's so many, and it's so hard to just, when someone asks you that question, it's hard to come up with just one artist and one song, especially if you listen to so many different genres. I personally love multiple genres. I don't listen to just one genre. And so, going through that, it's so hard to pick just one artist, because I love people like Beyonce, Whitney Houston, Boyz II Men, Brian McKnight, but I think when it really came down to it, my favorites, at least with how I'm feeling today, is Alicia Keys. And she has a song called Not Even the King. And I love that song so much. It's about love, basically. And I feel like a lot of songs these days are usually about hardship and hope and stuff like that, which is great because it helps us get through these hard times. But I also love music that focuses on love because I love love. And so I'm super girly in that way, but I really love that song. And I hope everyone goes and listens to it. It's called Not Even the King. It is just such a good song. It's about basically being appreciative and grateful for what you have and the love that you have, and just acknowledging that and realizing that you don't think anyone else can afford to have that because money can't buy it. And so totally love it. It's super wholesome. I will listen to it on repeat 10 times in a row and still feel totally happy about it. So that's my favorite artist and song.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm sure we will all get the chance to listen to it. When we circle back after EJ, you'll also get a turn to be able to sing. But before we get to that, Eliza, how about you? Who's your favorite African-American music artist?
Okay, Philip, I'm going to say who he is, but I'm not dating myself or anything because it's just that I love music way before I was born. So I love the music, not during my time, but of older. Okay, I'm into Motown and classic R&B. My favorite is Stevie Wonder. Because what's there not to like about him, right? And his music. And what I love most about him is that he is a genius songwriter. He has penned so many hits for himself, and not just for himself, but for other African-American artists too, who I love as well. The Temptations, Marvin Gaye, The Supremes, Diana Ross. So all of them I love. And I was surprised that a lot of their hit songs were also written by Stevie Wonder. So there you have it. How about you? Share.
The more you know. Yes. So for me, it was... since I got the question slightly right before we logged in for the production tonight, I didn't have a chance to go through my my Spotify like everybody else, but I settled on, like Julianne said, as I'm feeling today, I settled on Boyz II Men. And it makes me feel old to even, have these words come out of my mouth. But I want to say, they don't make music like that anymore. It's just different. And, I grew up, my parents, I don't know if anyone remembers, I don't know if she's still doing radio, but there was this radio host, Delilah, and it was always the sappy, love songs. And that's what my parents listened to. And that's kind of what I listened to. And now, my wife makes fun of me because... I don't listen to, music that comes out today. I listen to, stuff that's older and it's all about, love songs and stuff. But I thought of Boyz II Men immediately popped into my head because for some reason, a few nights ago, as many of you know, we've got a newborn in our house and it was my turn to do the the rock, do the rock, and try to get him to go to sleep. And for whatever reason, Boyz II Men popped into my mind as the song, as an artist to pick a song. And so, I asked I can't say the name of it because there's a device behind me that will wake up, but our smart assistant or smart home thing, smart speaker, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. I asked them to play Boyz II Men. And, for some reason, I just felt, I guess, soulful. And, not that I would ever sing on live TV, internationally, but, when you're trying to get a baby to sleep, whatever works, and at least for that moment, it worked. Didn't work the second time, but at least the first time. So.
Have you seen them perform live, Philip? The Boyz II Men?
I haven't seen them live, unfortunately, no. But definitely, I think once when I lived in Texas, they were performing at the Texas State Fair, but I wasn't able to go that night, so that was disappointing. But I guess that's a good question though to ask. Have any of you seen any of these individuals? I know EJ, you just mentioned that you missed it. Right. But Eliza or Julianne, have you guys had a chance to see either of your favorite artists live?
So I personally have never seen Alicia Keys live, but I have seen Boyz II Men live, not their own show, but I actually went to see a Bruno Mars concert and I was super fangirling the whole time. And then I guess it was a surprise because Boyz II Men came out and they were singing on stage. And that was a huge surprise. And I totally loved it because I love them also. So that was great. But I've never seen Alicia Keys live.
Same with Julie. I've seen Boyz II Men in Las Vegas too, Julie. My family and I went to see them perform live. It was their concert, and there's this part of their concert where they sing the song. I forget the song, but that part of the concert, all four of them. Oh no, there's only three of them. All three of them had roses, and they would give roses to to whoever walks closer to the stage. So they all had this a bouquet of roses, and they would give one each. And I was looking at my family if I could go. I was thinking, I want to go, I want to get a rose. And then of course I did. When they were walking toward the audience, I ran, and then I got my rose. So I'm so happy. That's but awesome. Stevie Wonder, I haven't seen yet in person. So I haven't seen a concert of his live. So, but I love all his songs.
Absolutely. Now, EJ.
Yeah.
He's like,
what's up?
Are you gonna make me sing?
Nah, you ain't making me sing, bro.
I know. No, so if you had to pick an African American artist to see live, other than the one that I think you said Miguel earlier, who are you most likely to go see in person?
That's so tough. Because now that you all, Eliza and Julie, they both said they've seen Boyz II Men. I feel like I'm missing something here, man. I definitely would love that. Right. You want to go to Vegas and watch a show? Do they still do the show there? Do they still do a live concert there?
So right now, I think people are still working out the logistics of how to get all the shows that have been previously paid for back on the stages here. And so I think they haven't. I'm not sure if Boyz II Men has announced their coming back date or if they're even going to come back for their residency. But they did have a previous residency, and so I'm under the understanding that they have to at least finish what was already paid for if it wasn't refunded. And so I'm sure they're going to have a couple shows, but as far as how long they carry that residency, I'm not quite sure about that. But that is something to look forward to because, Vegas has so many residencies and Boyz II Men was one of them. So if you want to see them live, you got to come visit us here in Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Philip, we got to make that plan to go over there, man, because we're the only ones here.
Yeah, you got to get that rose, EJ.
Oh no! I'll tell my wife to go up there
for Chris. Yeah,
so,
for Chris.
It's not weird if I go up there.
It's not just me and EJ going by ourselves. We're gonna bring the family. Yeah, everybody will be there.
That would be awesome if especially since the pandemic, all these watching artists live has been gone for almost an entire year, around the world. So any artist at this moment, to see them live is definitely a treat.
It can't compare. It definitely can't compare. I remember going to concerts and then listening, opening up Spotify afterwards and being like,
on repeat.
Yeah, it didn't sound. It sounded better last night. How come I don't on Spotify anymore? So, or whichever streaming platform you like to use to.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts today as we are celebrating African American Music Appreciation or Artist Appreciation Month. There's another group that we have to appreciate tonight, as we always do. That's our frontliners, first responders, essential workers, everyone out there helping us get through this pandemic, which hopefully will almost be over. We truly appreciate you. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Eagle News America. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world. We hope you're staying safe and you're staying well. I'm Philip Toledo. We live in interesting times.
Ang